many of them eagerly waiting the appearance of Jeremy Corbyn. He's due to be giving a speech here. Sounds like this is him, actually, well timed. But everybody here, there are activists, unions, civil servants, public sector workers. It's all about anti-austerity. They are against the government's economic policy, effectively. There has been a freeze, a pay cap freeze on public sector worker pay for a number of years now, and people here at least have been saying that they're really feeling it, that they've had enough. In fact, the hashtag for today's protest is not one day more. I have a guest here with me, Steve Battlemuch, who's from the PCS union. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry you're missing Jeremy Corbyn, but firstly just give me a sense of why so many people have felt so strongly to come down here today.
Well, I think people are absolutely fed up of 7 years of austerity, 7 years of a pay freeze for public sector workers, of cuts to services, of frontline workers and back office workers all losing their jobs, and we're paying more for our pensions. And I think we've seen in this general election an absolute con from the Conservatives. They talked about stop Jeremy Corbyn because of a coalition of chaos. We've now got a coalition of chaos. They've put money into Northern Ireland, but they're still taking money away from public services in the rest of the country. And the people that I represent, civil servants in job centres, in tax offices, in courts and the border force up and down the country, are absolutely sick to the back teeth of having 7 years of austerity and pay freezes.
For many of the people here, for the people that you've come here with, this is anti-austerity, obviously. Is it anti-government as well, or is that the same thing, would you say, for the people here?
Well, the austerity has been a political choice by the Conservatives, first in coalition with the Liberal Democrats and now governing alone. It's their choice. They chose to give tax breaks to millionaires. They chose to give tax breaks to big corporations, and they chose to use that money for that instead of giving money to nurses and firefighters. And they come out after a disaster and they praise the nurses and they praise the firefighters. But 2 days ago in Parliament, they voted against giving those workers a pay rise. And that's the reality of this Tory government.
And for a lot of people here that we've certainly spoken to the last few hours, they feel that there is a connection between local government cuts and the Grenfell disaster. Is that something that you agree with?
Well, yeah. When you look at what's happened over the last few years, there was an attack by the Tory government and the newspapers like the Daily Mail about health and safety culture. It was there's too much interest in health and safety, too many staff work on health and safety. In local government, there's been about 40% worth of cuts of local authority funding, and some of that cuts will affect whether you've got enough fire inspectors, whether you've got enough building control officers. And we've heard this week that potentially the cladding on the Grenfell was a cheaper model to save the local authority money. It's when you hear things like that people are right to be angry.
Okay, and you can hear the support for Jeremy Corbyn here. He seems to be riding a wave at the moment, don't you think? It was a different situation for him just a few months ago.
Well, I was out campaigning in the general election for Labour, and you could tell the mood was changing. From about 2 or 3 weeks out, the mood was changing. I'm absolutely convinced if that election had gone on for another 2 weeks, we'd now have a Labour government. The election came just at the right time to save them, but I don't think they can sustain this for longer than 6 months, 12 months.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your thoughts. That's Steve Battlemuch from the PCS union. Jeremy Corbyn speaking behind me, and as Steve was just mentioning there, he is really riding a wave. In fact, I've seen a banner on my way over a few hours ago, and it basically showed Jeremy Corbyn riding a unicorn under a rainbow, and I think that pretty much sums up how people see him here at the moment.